Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'du fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alif Lam Mim. Zalikal kitabu la rayba fihi hudal lil muttaqin allazina yu'minuna bil ghaibi wa yuqimuna as-salata wa mimma razaqnahum yunfiqun. And now the English translation. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I, Allah, am the best knower. This book, there is no doubt in it, is a guide to those who keep their duty, who believe in the unseen and keep up prayer and spend out of what we have given them. Today we shall discuss the verse and spend out of what we have given them. Sustenance or risk is ordinarily considered as meaning food and drink or material wealth. It, however, has a much broader interpretation. The dictionary meaning of the word risk is any beneficence of Allah that is ongoing either in this life or in the life hereafter. Sometimes it stands for the share or fortune which a person has received or the food he consumes. What we have given them includes not only the material wealth, but also the physical, mental, and spiritual faculties with which a person is endowed. A person's intelligence, insight, or knowledge are included in the meaning of the word risk. In fact, the position in society, skills or opportunities in life one receives are included in this category. Knowledge signifies understanding about both spiritual and temporal matters. If we think about it, the physical faculties given to us are not only by our own choice or will. In a similar manner, our intellectual and spiritual faculties are a benefaction of Allah. Some are given more and some less. The more blessed a man is with these faculties, the greater is his degree of accountability. The sustenance provided in the form of material wealth may be taken as an example. In the very beginning, a person benefits from the wealth he receives from his parents. It depends upon the will and discretion of Allah that a person is born in a rich family or in a middle-income household. Islam encourages its followers to earn wealth honestly, discourages its hoarding, and enjoins its spending in the way of Allah who has provided it. That is stated out of what we have given them, meaning whatever sustenance is provided, it is granted by Allah. Why is there so much reward for spending according to the divine instructions out of what He has given us? Good news of this reward being 10 times, 70 times, or even 700 times of the original has been given by the Qur'an. Why is this so? It appears to man that he earns his wealth with his own hands, and often he does not consider it to be divine providence. He therefore considers in his own property. The things that can be accomplished with money, the fineries of this world and the luxuries that can be brought with it, lead man to the great love for the acquisition of wealth. Allah says in the Holy Qur'an that when we ask of hell, is it full? Its reply will be, is there more? The craving of wealth manifests in a similar manner. The one who earns hundreds is yearning for thousands, and the one who makes thousands desires to make millions, and the millionaire's yearn is to be billionaire. The greed for more money is never satisfied. In contrast to this, the love of Allah, His Prophet, religion, His book, the love of one's poor brothers and sisters, and God's creation is a form of love that is cool in nature. It has a calming effect over the warm and burning fire of the lust for wealth. A fire that is under control is useful, but the one that flares up and burns out of control becomes the fire of hell. The act of giving makes the desire for wealth subservient to the love of higher moral values. Sacrifice of the love of wealth to serve God and His creation by spending one's wealth in His way becomes a source of recompense for mankind. The Holy Qur'an states, "And spend out of what we have given them." They, the believers, spend out of what has been given to them according to the need and requirement. To spend everything one owns during the time of an important national or religious need was demonstrated by Hazrat Abu Bakr on one occasion, and to spend half of one's wealth as was done by Hazrat Umar. This is the correct way to spend on such special occasions of necessity. On other occasions, we should spend according to circumstances. It may be asked, since all wealth belongs to Allah, why did He not keep all of it under His control and spend it on important religious and social needs? If He had done so, how would we have had the opportunity to develop spiritually and earn reward for the life hereafter? The only wealth we could acquire in the hereafter in abundance is the recompense we would receive for righteous spending in this life. By spending one's wealth in the way of Allah, divine attributes are evolved and nurtured in mankind, and there is no greater success than this. There are 4 basic attributes of Allah as narrated in the chapter Al-Fatiha. Rabbul Alameen, Lord of the worlds, the one who nurtures or evolves all His creation from the lowest to the highest stage of perfection. Ar-Rahman, the beneficent, the one who gives without asking, purely out of His mercy. And Ar-Rahim, the merciful, the one who rewards manifold on making the effort, and Malik Yawmiddin, master of the day of requital. A person is doing the work of rububiyyat or nurturing on to perfection when he aids his poor and destitute brothers financially and helps to improve their lot, when he spends for the propagation of Islam in order to draw the attention of the worldly to the spiritual and to incline others towards religious duty, it is in fact nurturing them from a lower to a higher state of spiritual existence. Similarly, if a person helps God's creation and voluntarily spends for the cause of religion, the attribute of Ar-Rahman becomes a part of his character. Giving bountifully on being asked reflects the color of Ar-Rahim, and paying a laborer more than his due wages is invoking the attribute of Malik Yawmiddin. A person who spends in the way of Allah will be wealthy not only in the hereafter, which is the permanent abode, but by generating the divine attributes within himself, he receives perpetual joy and contentment in this world. We have earlier discussed that the word rizq signifies divine benefaction to a person in the form of his physical faculties, intellectual capabilities, and skills. A nurse who uses his or her physical and mental faculties to serve humanity, or an individual who strives in the way of Allah, are all included amongst those who spend out of what we have given them. A person serving God and His creation with his intellect and knowledge also falls into this category. In a similar manner, those who serve their religion by dispensing their spiritual sustenance of knowledge that they receive through the keeping up of prayer and the duty and the study of the Holy Qur'an are also included amongst those who spend out of what we have given them. Charity towards man in its widest sense is laid down in the Holy Qur'an as the second great pillar on which the structure of Islam stands. This is made plain in the very beginning of the book, and it says, "Those who believe in the unseen and keep up prayer and spend out of what we have given them." The main principles of Islam as laid down here are five, three theoretical and two practical. The three theoretical essentials are belief in God, in divine revelation, and in the hereafter, and the two practical are keeping up prayer and spending out of what God has given to them. The first of these, that is prayer, is the means of the realization of the divine in man, while the second, or spending out of whatever has been given to man, stands for charity and for all acts of benevolence and doing good to humanity in general. For what God has given to man is not only the wealth which he possesses, but all the faculties and powers with which he has been gifted. That benevolence or doing of good to man is one of the two mainstays of religion, is a constant theme of the Holy Qur'an. The most frequently recurring words for charity are infaaq, which means spending benevolently, ihsaan, which means the doing of good, Zakaat, which means growth or purification, and sadaqah, which is derived from the root sidq, meaning truth, and comes to signify a charitable deed. The very words used to denote charitable deeds are an indication of the broadness of its conception. The Holy Qur'an not only lays stress on such great deeds of charity as the emancipation of slaves, the feeding of the poor, taking care of orphans, and doing good to humanity in general, but gives equal emphasis to smaller acts of benevolence. It is for this reason that the withholding of ma'un, which specially indicates small acts of kindness and charity, is stated to be against the spirit of prayer. And in a similar strain, the speaking of a kind word to parents is referred to as ihsaan, and generally the use of kind words is recommended and as in itself a charitable deed in many places. Tradition is much more explicit. To remove from the road anything which may cause hurt is called a sadaqah or a charitable deed. According to another, to do justice among people is also a charity. Another report gives you more detail. A man helps another to ride his animal, it is a charity. Or he helps him to load his animal, this is also a charity. And so is a good word. And every step which a man takes in going to prayer is a charity. And to show the way is a charity. Examples of other charitable deeds are your salutation to people, your enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong, refraining from doing evil to anyone, and so on. The circle of those towards whom an act of charity may be done is equally wide. The Prophet said, "Whatever you feed yourself with is a charity, and whatever you feed your children with is a charity, and whatever you feed your wife with is a charity, and whatever you feed your servant with is a charity." So the doing of good to the dumb creation is also called a charity. And the hadith goes, whoever tills a field and birds and beasts eat of it, it is a charity. So the Qur'an also speaks of extending charity not only to all men, including believers and unbelievers, but also to the dumb creation. A charitable deed must be done as a duty which man owes to man, so that it conveys no idea of the superiority of the giver or the inferiority of the receiver. And it says, those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah, then follow not up what they have spent with reproach or injury, their reward is with their Lord. A kind word with forgiveness is better than charity followed by injury. O you who believe, make not your charity worthless by reproach and injury. Love of God should be the motive in all charitable deeds, so that the very doing of them fosters the feeling that all mankind is but a single family. And the Quran says, and give away wealth out of love for him to the near of kin and the orphans and the needy and the wayfarer and to those who ask and to set slaves free. The two commandments to keep up prayer and to give Zakaat often go together, and this combination of the two is met with in the earlier chapters of the Quran as well as in those which were revealed towards the end of Prophet's life. But these two are also treated as being the basic ordinances of the religion of Islam, and their carrying into practice is often mentioned as being sufficient indication that one is a believer in the religion of Islam. So this brings us to the end of the khutbah, and I'll pray that may Allah grant us understanding and courage to think in charitable way, to act in charitable way, and try to be charitable in our dealings with others. The recompense is certainly joy, fellow feeling, and blessings of Allah. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allahumma inna nasta'inuka wa nastaghfiruka wa nu'minu bika wa natawakkalu alayk wa nusni alayka al-khair wa nashkuruka wa la nakfuruka wa nakhla wa natruku man yafjuruk. Allahumma iyyaka na'budu wa laka nusalli wa nasjudu wa ilayka nas'a wa nafidu.